Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Vlogmas day 6. Hopefully these videos get posted in the order that I'm personally planning for them to be posted. I've been filming a lot today, so that sip of water was definitely necessary. All right guys, I'm super excited for today's video. I'm going to be reflecting on last year's top 10 beauty purchases of 2021. Last year, end of year, personal life blew up and I did not do a lot of like my year-end content. So I didn't have a year-end like full 2021 favorites and I'm really kind of sad about that. But I did post a video about my top 10 beauty purchases from 2021 and I've pulled all those products out. We're gonna chit chat about whether or not they are still favorites. And then I sort of did like some digging throughout my like channel slash videos of 2021 last year and tried to find other like favorites videos or speed reviews where I talked about favorite products, and I pulled an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 10 products. So I have approximately 20 favorites from last year to reflect on today and chat about whether or not these products are still favorites today in 2022. If you're interested, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. I was trying to go for like cold girl makeup today. And like ironically, yesterday I self-tanned for the first time in like at least a month probably. But here we are. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna first start with the 10 beauty products that I talked about in my 10 favorites, my 10 favorite beauty purchases of 2021. I will leave that video linked below, and I also did an updated version of that video for 2022. That video would have gone up on Saturday, I believe, so I'll also leave this year's version. Again, just me talking about my 10 favorite beauty purchases of the year. So last year, the only product that I don't currently have in my collection that was a favorite beauty purchase from last year was the Briogeo Be Kind. It was like the banana shampoo and conditioner set. That is still a favorite of mine. I just have so much shampoo and conditioner currently that I'm trying to get through that I don't want to go repurchase these just to have them like sit there. But I would say of all of the shampoo and conditioner, that along with the Moroccan Oil hydrating shampoo and conditioner are by far my favorite shampoo and conditioners of all time. So I would say that's still a favorite, and I will eventually repurchase that set. In fact, I think I actually repurchased that set earlier this year, but I've since gone through it. Anyway, that's still a favorite. So then I had 2 palettes that I talked about in that video, one of them being the ColourPop Limoncello palette, and this is truly still a favorite palette of mine in my collection. You open it up and it kind of just looks like a basic palette, but this is really like the basic staple needs with like a little bit of a pop. And this is a palette that after I finished testing this last year, like I could not put this palette down last year. And I pulled this palette out, I want to say around March of this year again, and I like could not get myself to put it back or to put it down. It's just a very easy palette to use, but then you have these like fun little pops of color. You have your green, your blue, a bright yellow, and even like this shade, like this shimmer shade right here, it's just so beautiful. The shimmers are not like super punchy, so you really can still get like a, like I don't want to say like super neutral, but just like a very comfortable look, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is a palette I've taken traveling with me and 100% still a favorite in my collection a year later. So then interestingly enough, the Supreme Bronze palette was another one that I mentioned. And I do really like the Supreme Bronze palette from Artist Couture, but for me, the Supreme Nudes is the superior palette in all of my Artist Couture Supreme palettes. And I'm wondering if I purchased Supreme Bronze at the end of 2020, which is why I didn't include that in my favorites of last year. This is a beautiful palette. I love the Artist Couture formula. I will say I wasn't as impressed with his mauve palette this year as I was with the bronze and the Supreme Nudes, but this is a really beautiful palette. I will say I did not reach for this one that much this year. I was not doing, as you guys have heard me say a million times, I didn't do my makeup as frequently this year, meaning I just didn't reach for products in my collection as many times as I normally would have in years past. So I'm not gonna say this isn't a favorite palette of mine. In fact, I still like one of this, just Artist Couture in general makes one of my favorite formulas, but I just didn't reach for this one that much this year. Apparently 2021 was the year of foundations, and I do feel like it truly was the year of foundations. I feel like so many skin tints released last year, and I purchased all of the foundations, it felt like. So there are 3 foundations that I talked about as favorite purchases of last year. And again, with me not wearing my makeup as much this year, I really fell into reaching for the products that I was project panning the most, meaning all 3 of these I didn't reach for that much, but I will say all 3 of these I would still consider favorite foundations in my collection. So up first I have the Oma Beauty by Sharon C, the less expensive like Oma Beauty foundation that you used to be able to get at Walmart. I'm not sure if you still can. I feel like you still can. This is such a good, more like medium to full coverage foundation that is kind of like a satin matte finish, and I feel like has a really good wear time. This is something that I truly feel like filters my skin and kind of blurs my skin. I don't notice that it settles into my forehead lines like I notice other foundations do. And that is really what made me fall in love with this foundation. Even though it is more of a satin matte finish, I don't feel like it makes my skin look aged or drier, and it's a really solid foundation, especially for the price point. You guys know I fell in love. I feel like last year was the year that I truly fell in love with Nabla Cosmetics as well. And they released their Skin Realist foundation last year. So this is their beautifying tinted balm with hyaluronic acid microspheres, and this was like my favorite like tinted balm, if you will, that got released last year. And I will say again, didn't reach for this that frequently this year just because my Maybelline like 4-in-1 is like my go-to, has been my go-to this year, just because I haven't been doing like a really glam full face of makeup, and this summer was really when I wasn't wearing makeup that much, which is when I would have reached for this product. But I recently started reaching for this again in preparation, like knowing I was filming this video, and I will say this is still a favorite. Like I love this so much. I think it's such a nice light coverage foundation that really blurs the skin out but still offers this really natural, healthy skin-like glow to the skin, and I just love it so much. Nabla Cosmetics stan over here. And then the last one that I discussed in that video was the Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation. This is a really, really good, very thin foundation that's still gonna offer you a really good, like light to medium coverage. And this has an amazing wear time. It makes my skin, again, it has that like skin-like healthy looking glow, but still offers such a good amount of coverage. And it's really the wear time for this that I am so impressed by. Again, I didn't reach for this one that frequently this year just because I had my project panning foundations I was trying to get through, but I would still consider this a favorite, and I'm really excited to pull all of these out next year. I'm trying to like be better and not buy foundations and actually like and other items throughout my makeup collection, but I'm trying to buy less. Especially 2023 is going to be hopefully like buy less, use more of what I already own. So those are still favorites. The Lawless Forget the Filler, still a favorite. I finished up a tube this year, purchased another shade this year, love this so much, can't shut up about it. It is by far my favorite lip plumping gloss that I have ever tried. It truly just makes your skin look, or your lips look plump and healthy and just smoothed out, nourished, hydrated, and it's not gonna be painful on the lips. Cannot rave about this enough. I know that they're expensive at $25, but I 100% think that they're worth the price point and will continue to repurchase those. I did not realize that I purchased the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Powder last year. For some reason, I felt like this had been in my collection far longer than a year, but I actually, so my other CoverGirl Clean Fresh powder broke and I repurchased it because I enjoy this powder so much. So this is more of like a newer one to my collection because I ended up just throwing the other one away because it was like broken beyond repair. This will set your makeup down and honestly even offer some coverage to the skin, but for a powder foundation, I still feel like you're left with this healthy skin-like glow that I keep talking about. That's like my sweet spot. That's what I'm looking for in my foundations. And I don't use this as a powder foundation. I truly use this as like a setting powder. I have mine in the shade Fair, 120 Fair. I love this powder so much. I think it's such a good one, especially for the drugstore, but like even comparing this to other like high-end powders in my collection, I Absolutely adore this powder. Continue to use that one all the time, and that is absolutely still a favorite. I feel like so many of these are still favorites. So the final two products I have to discuss are both blushes. Last year I purchased the Lawless Angel Suede blush, or the Lawless Make Me Blush in the shade Angel Suede. And I was so mad at myself that I waited as long as I did to purchase the Lawless blush formula. This blush formula is really buildable. So it goes on kind of sheer, and you really can build it up to be as like flushed and like as what's the word I'm looking for? You can build it up to be really pigmented, or you can really sheer it out depending like the type of blush flush you want on your cheeks. I've been filming all day. Can you guys tell I'm getting very tongue-tied? I feel like my voice is starting to go as well. But I reach for this one quite frequently this summer. It's just, I like that it's buildable because I feel like sometimes I can get a little bit heavy-handed with both bronzer and blush. So the buildable the better, in my opinion. And then another Nabla product. I could not shut up about this last year, and this is another product that I continue to rave about. This is the Nabla Skin Glazing in the shade Truth. This is my favorite shade, but I do have two other shades in the Nabla Skin Glazing blushes. I love this formula. If you like a matte blush, you are not gonna like this at all, but I definitely like a glowier finish to the face, and this is just so beautiful and really does it for me. Absolutely still a favorite blush within my collection. So pretty much all of the products that I loved last year, I continue to love this year. I do, like I said, I have pulled other favorites that I chatted about throughout the year. And I thought it would just be fun to reflect on a few other favorites, just in the spirit of reflecting on last year's favorites. So keeping with the Nabla train, like I said, I really became a Nabla stan last year. The Nabla Skin Bronzing in the shade Ambra. Still a favorite. I used this so much this year. I attempted to pan this product this year, used it all the time, did not hit pan on this. I love this because it is another one of those buildable bronzers. It's a really beautiful Bake Chalet formula, and it is not a totally matte bronzer, but it's not super like sheeny or glowy either. It's just this really beautiful, it gives this very natural bronzed effect to the face, and I love this so much. And then I also really love the Nabla Skin Glazings, the highlighters as well. I have two shades. I have the shade Privilege, which I've used so much this year. This is a shade that I was working on in my whole collection project pan, and this got so much use for me. It's this sort of like peachy pink toned highlight, which is like one of my favorite tones of highlight. So use that so much. That is definitely a favorite highlight in my collection. And then I also have the shade Ozone, which is more of like a true champagne shade. This one is still a favorite, but this just isn't like the tone I love in a highlight all the time, so I reached for this one obviously less. But I do love the Nabla Skin Glazings because they aren't as punchy or as intense as some of my other highlighters, and I definitely have been opting for a more subtle, more natural sort of glow. So those Nabla products are absolutely still favorites. Another product that is still a favorite, and I want to pan this next year, it's something that I will repurchase, but I feel like for some reason, like knowing this is a favorite, I feel like I don't reach for it because I know I'll repurchase it when I finish it. But it's the Milani Chill Out Soothing Primer. It has wild oat and ceramide extracts. I have this going currently in my Shop My Stash, and so I've been reaching for it on a pretty consistent basis, and I forgot that this is like so cooling on the face, and it just feels like nourishing, and it just feels hydrating, and like it feels healthy on the skin, but it also blurs the skin out. Like it does a really nice job of blurring, but it doesn't feel heavy or distracting on the skin. So this is definitely still a favorite primer of mine. I will continue to recommend that. Another product that I talked about as a favorite last year, but I may have purchased in 2020, is the Daniel Sandler Watercolor Gel Cheek Color. I have mine in the shade Nectar. I've been working on panning this all year, and there is so much product in this, so I will not finish this year, but this is a product that I absolutely will purchase again when I finish it. It's a really beautiful, very natural blush shade, so it's very easy to get away with this if you go a little bit too heavy-handed, and it also just offers a very natural sun-kissed finish to the skin, so it just looks natural on the cheeks. Like it looks like with like, it just looks like you were out in the sun and you got like rosy bronzy cheeks, and I love it so much. Also the Bare Minerals bronzer, I ended up purchasing Kiss of Pink last year because I loved Kiss of Copper so much. Again, these are glowier. I don't use them as like a blush bronzer intermixing, I just use them as a blush, but it offers a really beautiful sheeny sort of glow to the cheeks, and again kind of gives like a very natural sun-kissed glow to the skin that I really love. These are definitely still favorites of mine. I talked about the Huda Glowish bronzer as being a favorite when this came out, and I will say I do really enjoy this bronzer. I don't know if I would consider it to be a favorite bronzer in my collection, and I do feel like this is a very seasonal bronzer for me in that I really only enjoy it in the spring summertime. It again gives that sun-kissed radiant finish to the skin, but sometimes it's a little bit glowier than I'm looking for in a bronzer. Like sometimes I do prefer more of a matte bronzer, just pending the season. But when I pulled this out this summer and was using it in the summer, I was really enjoying it. I mentioned this is a favorite, and I need to pull this back out because I remember really enjoying this palette. It's from Nomad Cosmetics. It's their Kiss of Sun palette, and this was just such a solid staple when I was using this, but I was so focused on some of my other face palettes this year that I have like barely reached for this. You have a really beautiful matte bronzer in here, and then you have 3 highlights, and I really loved the pink highlight up here. So this sort of like motivated me to pull this back out. I barely reached for this year, like just being transparent and honest, but I do remember really loving this, so I just need to pull this out and use it again. Another product I barely used this year but really enjoyed last year, and the only reason I feel like I haven't used this year, one is because it's a product I will want to repurchase when I finish and it's more expensive, and 2, I have very similar products. Oh, my light's showing. Oh, I hate that. I have very similar products to this in my collection that I'm also trying to get through because they've been in my collection longer. It's the Auric Glow Lust. I have mine in the shade Selenite. I need to pull this out and start using it again though, because like I mentioned, I have been using the Maybelline 4-in-1 makeup, which is really similar to this product, as well as the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush, whatever, Hollywood Flawless Filter. And I just have loved the Maybelline 4-in-1 this year. Like that is probably my most used makeup product of the year, like consistently using. And it's been so long, my self-tan looks so ridiculous. It's been so long since I've reached for this, so I'm not saying I don't like this product, I just didn't use it this year. And then the final product that I could find that I talked about as being a favorite, and 100% still a favorite, I was using this quite a bit this summer. It's my NARS face palette in Orgasm on the Beach. I have just fallen in love with the NARS face palettes, and I know it's like ridiculous because they're limited edition, and I feel like a lot of people may think like the shades are very overlapping, but between this and the NARS Holiday Cheek Palette, which I actually have the Holiday Cheek Palette on my cheeks today, there is a lot of difference, and I just, first, like, NARS Cheek Palette stand over here, and I'm like literally not even ashamed of it. But this is Orgasm on the Beach, so you have like 3 really beautiful glowy blushes. The other day I did a look and I used this blush, and I was just like loving how glowy my cheeks were, even though it was definitely more of like a summery glow. And then you have like this glowy, like very nude but deeper blush shade that I love to use in the summer, again when I'm kind of going for that like just like bronzy, sun-kissed but natural sort of look. And then you have 2 highlights in here as well, which I also really like. So huge fan of this. This is one of my most used face palettes of the year, and like I said, I can't stop buying the NARS face palettes. I get excited for every time they launch a new one. But after that, I feel like I'm gonna lose my voice. Those are all of my 2021 favorites. I feel like there's not a product that turned into like I don't like it anymore. Like these really have stuck like true to my favorites. I think part of that could be because, one, I purchased definitely less makeup this year than I have in really any year in the past, and 2, because I wasn't doing my makeup as much, I was really relying on like using my staple favorites that I knew I loved. many of these included in that. So a lot of these definitely still favorites. I would love to know in the comments, do you have 2021 favorites that are still favorites, or maybe you fell out of love with them in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel, as well as Vlogmas. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Bye.